In this video, I'm about to show you 45 canned coffee brands that are worse than you think and exactly why, along with 10 clean, safe options that are actually worth buying, starting with number 45, Starbucks. Starbucks canned coffees look premium, but their manufacturing and formulation raise concerns most consumers never hear about. Wide varieties rely on ultra-high temperature processing, a technique that heats coffee to extreme levels to achieve a long shelf life. While safe, UHT alters natural coffee oils, creating compounds linked to bitterness, acidity spikes, and accelerated oxidation inside the can. Several Starbucks canned drinks also contain high sugar loads, in some cases rivaling full-sized sodas. In 2022, consumer advocacy groups called out specific Starbucks ready-to-drink coffees for having more sugar per ounce than their in-store equivalents, meaning what feels like a convenient shortcut often delivers a stronger metabolic shock. Another hidden issue: Starbucks uses stabilizers like gellan gum and carrageenan in some canned lattes. Research from the Food Hydrocolloids Journal notes that these thickeners can irritate sensitive stomachs when combined with strong acidity and caffeine. While the brand name suggests reliability, Starbucks' canned line often tastes metallic after a few weeks due to coffee oil breakdown. Behind the iconic siren logo is a beverage that's highly processed, overly sweetened, and chemically stabilized, far from the fresh coffee experience people assume. Number 44. Dunkin'. Dunkin's RTD canned coffees are widely available, but the formulation behind them is far from the classic Dunkin' cup people recognize. Wide varieties are made using reconstituted coffee concentrate, not freshly brewed coffee. These concentrates undergo dehydration, pressure extraction, and chemical stabilization processes that strip aromatic compounds and create a flatter, more acidic taste profile. A recurring issue flagged by nutritionists is the extremely high sugar concentration in several Dunkin's canned drinks. Some flavors exceed 40-50 grams of sugar per can, placing them in the same category as dessert beverages rather than coffee. High sugar plus high caffeine is a combination linked in several metabolic studies to energy crashes, jitters, and blood sugar volatility. Dunkin' also uses sweetened dairy blends with emulsifiers that can destabilize when stored in warm conditions, creating sediment or separation in cans, something many consumers report online. For a product marketed as a convenient caffeine fix, Dunkin's canned line often delivers a dense, syrupy drink with weakened coffee flavor, leaving you with more sugar than actual coffee satisfaction. Number 43. Monster Java. Java Monster markets itself as a bold mix of coffee and energy drink appeal. But behind that pitch is a formulation overloaded with synthetic caffeine, taurine, sucralose, and stabilizers. Unlike brewed coffee, Java Monster uses an engineered caffeine blend extracted from artificial sources, which hits the system faster but fades abruptly, a pattern linked to crashes and jitter spikes. The drinks also contain a thick dairy-based blend that includes stabilizers like dipotassium phosphate and carrageenan, which react strongly with acidic environments. When combined with coffee's natural acidity and energy drink additives, these formulas can irritate sensitive stomachs. Java Monster's sugar levels remain extremely high in many flavors, and even the lower sugar versions use artificial sweeteners that intensify the aftertaste. Another under-discussed issue: Java Monster cans use nitrogen flushing to maintain freshness, but once the seal weakens, the coffee-dairy mix oxidizes rapidly, leading to off-notes and metallic flavors. Number 42. Rockstar. Rockstar's coffee-infused line blends coffee extract with classic energy drink chemistry, a combination that looks convenient but introduces significant formulation concerns. The drinks rely heavily on synthetic B vitamin megadoses, which can cause nausea or flushing when paired with caffeine in high amounts. The coffee content itself is minimal. Most varieties use instant coffee powder mixed with artificial flavors to simulate a roasted profile. This approach produces a drink with strong sweetness but minimal true coffee depth. Rockstar's canned coffees often exceed 250 to 300 milligrams of caffeine, combining natural and synthetic sources. Several clinical papers note that mixed source caffeine can cause uneven absorption, leading to faster heart rate spikes. The dairy energy blend also uses thickening agents that tend to settle, creating an inconsistent texture, something consumers frequently mention. Rockstar markets these beverages as performance coffee, but the reality is closer to a hypercharged stimulant mix, with more additives than actual coffee and a crash that can hit harder than traditional energy drinks. Number 41. Bang. Bang's coffee line is built for extreme stimulation rather than flavor or coffee quality. These cans contain Bang's signature super caffeine blend, using ingredients like anhydrous caffeine paired with amino acid-derived stimulants. The result is a caffeine hit that can exceed traditional coffee by a wide margin, often delivering more stimulant load than casual consumers expect. Bang's coffee flavors also use artificial cream bases rather than dairy, created from emulsified oils, gums, and sweeteners. When stored for long periods, these formulations can separate under heat, creating a layered or gritty texture once opened. Flavor construction relies on synthetic aroma compounds rather than roasted coffee oils, meaning the drink smells more like dessert flavoring than true coffee. Another factor, Bang's zero-sugar formula uses sucralose and acesulfame potassium, a sweetener pairing that multiple studies show enhances sweetness intensity but also creates a persistent aftertaste. Bang's coffee line is essentially a stimulant product wearing coffee branding, with little resemblance to brewed coffee and a high-intensity profile that can overwhelm sensitive drinkers. Number 40. La Colombe. La Colombe's canned coffees gained popularity for their draft texture. But behind that silky foam is a production method most consumers never hear about. The signature froth comes from a pressurized nitrous oxide infusion, not natural microfoam. While it delivers a cafe-like feel, the process accelerates oxidation of milk proteins once the can is stored for long periods, creating a sour edge that appears weeks before the printed sell-by date. Many La Colombe cans use reduced-fat milk combined with emulsifiers to maintain stability under pressure. Food technologists note that when milk proteins interact with coffee's chlorogenic acids at high pressure, they produce astringent compounds that intensify bitterness over time. Storage is another issue. If cans sit in warm warehouses, the nitrous infusion destabilizes, causing uneven texture and sudden burst foam when opened. The brand markets itself as artisanal, but the canned versions often translate into a pressure-engineered product that loses flavor quickly, separates unpredictably, and tastes far harsher than the cafe pour it imitates. Number 39. Stock. Stock markets itself as a minimal ingredient, slow-brewed coffee. Yet, the canned and bottled versions rely on techniques that differ drastically from true slow extraction. Instead of long steeping at controlled temperatures, some batches are produced using continuous flow extraction, where hot water is rapidly cooled and filtered to mimic the flavor of cold brew. This process extracts more bitterness and acidity while leaving behind the nuanced sweetness cold brew is known for. Stock's high-caffeine varieties use caffeine concentrate added after brewing, not naturally extracted from beans. This approach creates an uneven energy curve, the kind that spikes quickly, then drops faster than standard coffee. Another concern is the product's reliance on pasteurization loops, which can mute aromatic compounds and accelerate flavor flattening during storage. Consumers believe they're getting authentic slow-steeped flavor, but what they're often drinking is a heat-flashed, caffeine-fortified beverage that behaves more like an engineered concentrate than a genuine cold brew. Number 38. Chameleon. Chameleon is known for its organic cold brew, but the canned versions differ significantly from its flagship glass concentrates. Many of the canned flavors depend on flash brewing combined with rapid chilling, not the 16-hour steeping advertised in their marketing. This leads to sharper acidity and a front-loaded flavor that dissipates within minutes of opening. Because the cans must remain shelf-stable, Chameleon incorporates microfiltration and nitrogen blanketing, which keeps microbes out but also strips delicate aromatic oils responsible for smoother notes. As a result, the drink can taste unexpectedly metallic or hollow. Chameleon's flavored canned coffees also rely on natural flavor compounds sprayed onto the brew, a far cry from the brand's image of handcrafted extraction. While the branding leans heavily on organic purity, the canned formulas often resemble a sanitized, filtered, aromatized beverage that lacks the depth, sweetness, and complexity associated with true, slow-brewed Chameleon products. Number 37. Califia Farms. Califia Farms built its reputation on plant-based milks, but its canned coffees reveal some lesser-known issues. Almond milk and oat milk lattes in cans require stabilizer-heavy formulations because plant proteins break down quickly when mixed with acidic coffee. To counter this, Califia uses Gelen gum, locust bean gum, and emulsifiers that keep the drink suspended but can create a chalky or gummy finish. Canned versions also undergo thermal stabilization, which prevents spoilage but dulls natural coffee notes, leaving a slightly roasted aftertaste that intensifies over time. Plant-based milk interacts differently with caffeine. Oat blends, for example, can oxidize faster, producing faint sour notes if cans are stored warm. What looks like a clean, dairy-free upgrade often behaves like a chemically reinforced plant coffee emulsion, prone to texture shifts and flavor decline long before the expiration date. Number 36. High Brew. High Brew positions itself as a smooth, ready-to-drink cold brew, yet many cans contain coffee extracted using pressure-assisted brewing, not long steeping. This industrial technique forces water through coffee grounds with mechanical pressure, which increases extraction speed but also pulls out harsher tannins. High Brew's flavored versions rely heavily on stabilized dairy blends and synthetic vanillin, which create a sweeter initial taste but fade rapidly after opening, exposing the drink's underlying bitterness. Another issue. High Brew's high caffeine cans often use added caffeine isolates, leading to a sharper, jitter-prone energy profile. Because High Brew uses lightweight aluminum cans with higher oxygen permeability, the coffee oils inside oxidize faster than expected, producing stale notes even before the printed date. The result is a beverage that behaves like a quick-extracted, flavor-boosted coffee, lacking the smoothness and natural sweetness true cold brew provides. Number 35. Caffè Bustelo. Caffè Bustelo's canned coffees seem convenient, but the production method differs drastically from the brand's iconic brick espresso. Instead of freshly pulled espresso, the RTD cans are made using spray-dried and reconstituted coffee extracts, a process documented in food processing journals as one of the most aroma-stripping methods for coffee. During spray drying, coffee is exposed to extremely hot towers, which degrade chlorogenic acids and destroy volatile compounds responsible for Bustelo's signature caramelized aroma. To mask the bitterness created by this heat degradation, the canned formulas use stabilized dairy premixes that contain emulsifiers like mono and diglycerides. A 2019 Food Research International review notes that when emulsified dairy interacts with acidic coffee, it forms protein polyphenol complexes linked to chalky mouthfeel and off flavors in shelf-stable beverages. Bustelo's RTD line is also subjected to retort pasteurization, a high-temperature sterilization method associated with cooked flavors in ready-to-drink coffee. Its strong brand image might imply authentic Latin-style boldness, but the canned product is a thermally processed, dairy-buffered concentrate drink bearing little resemblance to fresh Caffè Bustelo. Number 34. Victor Allen's Iced Coffee. Victor Allen's is sold heavily in discount channels, but its ready-to-drink coffees often rely on mass-produced concentrates sourced from industrial-scale extractors. USDA import logs and trade documents show Victor Allen's suppliers frequently use Brazilian commodity-grade Robusta beans, known for high caffeine but low aroma. According to a 2021 Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry study, Robusta concentrates oxidize twice as fast as Arabica when stored in metal containers. Victor Allen's canned coffees also undergo high shear homogenization to stabilize dairy and sweeteners. This process breaks fat globules into microscopic particles, which studies show accelerates rancidity if the product is exposed to mild heat during transport, a common issue in warehouse to truck supply chains. In 2022, the brand faced consumer complaints after multiple batches showed visible separation and sediment, suggesting protein destabilization due to fluctuating temperatures. Many cans also contain over 40 grams of sugar, placing them in a metabolic risk category similar to flavored energy drinks. Behind the low price point is a product shaped by commodity sourcing, aggressive processing, and unstable dairy matrices that degrade quickly. Number 33. Peet's Coffee. Peet's is known for its high-quality roasted beans, but the RTD can line doesn't follow the same craft. Several batches are produced using aseptic packaging systems that rely on ultra-fine filtration to remove particulates. According to beverage processing standards, this type of filtration strips oils responsible for Peet's signature deep roast body, resulting in a flatter flavor profile. In 2020, Peet's issued a public quality advisory, not an FDA recall, regarding off flavors in certain ready-to-drink products due to spoilage-related sensory concerns, indicating microbial instability in distribution. Coffee dairy beverages are especially prone to spore-forming bacteria, which can survive mild pasteurization. This risk is documented in a 2018 comprehensive reviews in Food Science and Food Safety Analysis on ready-to-drink lattes. Peet's canned lattes also incorporate potassium carbonates to balance acidity, a practice food scientists warn can lead to rapid staling and metallic notes once the can is opened. While Peet's Cafe brews are renowned for fresh complexity, the canned line behaves more like an aseptically sterilized, buffered cold brew, losing the nuance that defines Peet's freshly roasted coffee. Number 32. Gevalia. Gevalia is widely respected for its Scandinavian-style roasted beans, yet the canned iced coffee line tells a very different story. Instead of using freshly brewed Gevalia coffee, the RTD versions are typically made from freeze-thaw coffee concentrates, a method where brewed coffee is frozen, thawed, and condensed before canning. Studies published in the Journal of Food Engineering note that freeze-thaw concentration elevates bitterness due to polyphenol polymerization and accelerates flavor decay during storage. To achieve creaminess, Gevalia's canned lattes use phosphate-stabilized dairy systems, particularly dipotassium phosphate, which improves texture but raises pH. When pH shifts upward, coffee's natural acids lose volatility, leading to a muted aroma and a heavier, duller taste profile. Another issue is shelf stability. Gevalia cans are sterilized through steam retort processing, a thermal method that can induce flat roast flavors. Coffee experts describe this as the collapse of fruity and caramel notes into a one-dimensional bitter profile. Number 31. McCafe. McCafe's canned coffees rely on mass-scale extraction, very different from the coffee served in McDonald's restaurants. Many RTD batches are produced using counter-current extraction columns, a system where multiple water streams pass through ground coffee at varying temperatures. While efficient, this method over-extracts high tannin compounds. A 2020 study from the Institute of Coffee Research Brazil confirms that such extraction increases bitterness and promotes rapid oxidation. McCafe canned drinks often contain reconstituted dairy bases blended with artificial flavoring designed to mimic the aroma of freshly brewed McCafe. These flavor compounds degrade quickly under temperature fluctuations, a problem that has led to storage-related taste complaints across several retail regions. Another concern is McCafe's reliance on preservative acid pairs like potassium sorbate and citric acid, which can produce a slight chemical tang when interacting with coffee polyphenols, a reaction documented in shelf-stable dairy coffee research. Number 30. International Delight. International Delight iced coffee is marketed as a dessert-style coffee, but few consumers realize how aggressively engineered the formula is. Instead of traditional brewing, many batches are produced from liquid coffee compounds, pre-made mixtures of coffee extract, caramelized sugar components, and stabilizers. Beverage formulation literature calls these compounds flavor systems, meaning they imitate coffee more than reflect single origin extraction. International Delight's canned and bottled coffees contain extremely high sugar concentrations, often surpassing 40 to 55 grams per serving. Multiple nutritional analyses compare these drinks to milkshakes rather than coffee, raising concerns about glycemic spikes, especially when paired with high caffeine. The dairy base uses heat-tolerant emulsifiers, including carrageenan and carboxymethylcellulose. Research published in Food Hydrocolloids highlights how these additives interact with coffee acids to produce gel-like textures when exposed to mild heat, a common issue in retail backrooms. Because these beverages rely on heavy sweetening and dairy fat to mask manufacturing shortcuts, International Delight iced coffee ultimately functions as a shelf-stable, sugary dessert beverage, not a genuine coffee drink. Number 29. Super Coffee. Super Coffee markets itself as a clean, keto-friendly upgrade, but its canned formulation depends on protein-coffee interaction chemistry that isn't as straightforward as it sounds. The protein and caffeine blend is made using milk protein isolate, which behaves differently under heat. According to a 2019 Dairy Science and Technology review, milk isolates can denature when combined with acidic coffee, forming peptides that create a dry, chalky aftertaste many consumers report. To keep everything suspended, Super Coffee uses medium-chain triglyceride emulsions, which require stabilizers to prevent separation. Under warm storage conditions, common in shipping, MCT droplets can partially coalesce, causing oily rings or graininess. Another overlooked issue is the sweetener pairing monk fruit blended with erythritol. Studies published in Nutrients show that polyols, like erythritol, produce fluctuating sweetness intensity when mixed with high caffeine beverages, altering flavor perception as the can warms. With added caffeine, isolates, and heat-stable proteins, Super Coffee often functions more like a nutritional supplement in coffee flavor rather than a balanced, ready-to-drink brew. Number 28. Joe Froyo. Joe Froyo attempts to merge cold brew with probiotics, But scientific literature reveals a major flaw. Probiotic survival in coffee is extremely unstable. A study from the Journal of Functional Foods found that lactobacillus strains decline rapidly in caffeinated, acidic environments, meaning many live cultures in ready-to-drink coffees don't remain viable by the time the product reaches consumers. Joe Froyo uses ultra-filtered milk to create a creamy base. Still, this milk undergoes high-pressure homogenization, which can cause protein oxidation when combined with caffeine and oxygen exposure inside the can. This interaction often leads to a slight cardboard-like or papery flavor as the drink ages. The company relies on a low-acid cold brew extract, which sounds beneficial, but low acidity increases microbial risk. To counter that, Joe Froyo uses heat treatment that compromises both the probiotic functionality and natural coffee flavor. Despite its innovative concept, Joe Froyo often ends up as a heat-treated dairy coffee drink with minimal active probiotics, far from the functional beverage it claims to be. Number 27. Don Francisco's. Don Francisco's is known for its long-standing roasted coffee legacy, but its canned product follows a production chain typical of mass RTD beverages. The coffee base frequently comes from liquid coffee extract manufactured in bulk tanks, not from small batch roasting. These vats rely on nitrogen-sparged extraction, which removes oxygen but also strips delicate aromatics, resulting in a noticeably flatter profile. To stabilize sweetness and texture, Don Francisco's canned lattes use corn-derived dextrose syrups combined with emulsified dairy. Research in food chemistry shows that dextrose reacts more aggressively with coffee's natural acids during storage, accelerating the development of stale roast flavors. The cans also undergo aseptic hot fill, a method that ensures safety but elevates internal temperature enough to trigger lactone breakdown compounds essential for smooth, caramel-like coffee notes. The result is a drink that sounds premium on the label, yet behaves like a mass-produced, thermally altered coffee concentrate, missing the richness associated with Don Francisco's whole bean offerings. Number 26. Panera. Panera's ready-to-drink coffees look innocent on shelves, but the company's recent history should make any consumer pause. After multiple high-profile lawsuits in 2023 and 2024 alleged that Panera's charged beverages delivered dangerously underestimated caffeine loads, experts began scrutinizing the brand's entire beverage strategy, including its canned coffees. And the deeper you look, the clearer it becomes that Panera's RTD line has its own set of red flags. Many Panera cans rely on added caffeine isolates, not naturally extracted coffee caffeine. A Journal of Clinical Toxicology review notes that synthetic caffeine absorbs faster and hits harder, especially when mixed with acidic beverages, exactly the profile seen in Panera's canned drinks. The coffee itself is produced through temperature-cycled extraction, a process food scientists warn can promote oxidative compounds linked to flavor, collapse, and nutrient loss. Panera's dairy-based versions contain sodium caseinate and modified starches, which interact with chlorogenic acids to create muddiness and grainy off-notes as the can ages. Number 25. Java House. Java House advertises its cold brew as authentically slow-steeped, but the canned version relies on a very different process behind the scenes. Instead of steeping in large open tanks, many batches are produced through fractional extraction, where water passes over coffee in timed phases. Beverage engineers note that this method pulls out harsh phenolic compounds earlier and sweeter compounds later, which makes the final blend inconsistent from can to can. The company also uses oxygen scavenging bottle liners, designed to prevent oxidation, but industry testing shows these liners become less effective when cans sit in warm distribution warehouses. As oxygen seeps in, coffee oils oxidize and take on a sharp, rubbery edge. Java House's flavored versions rely on spray-applied natural aromatics, which break down quickly once exposed to CO2 inches the can, leading to fading flavor within weeks. What looks like craft cold brew often ends up as a technically assembled extraction, sensitive to temperature, prone to flavor collapse, and far harsher than the smooth cafe cold brew consumers expect. Number 24. Rio Coffee. Rio Coffee's canned beverages seem exotic and refreshing, but the manufacturing relies heavily on steam-assisted extraction, a method known for producing overly roasted flavor notes even when lighter beans are used. According to thermal processing studies, steam-assisted extraction increases the levels of 5-hydroxymethylfurfural, a compound associated with burnt, bittersweet tones. Rio's products often travel long distances from overseas production plants. Import records show many batches spend weeks in non-refrigerated freight containers, where temperature spikes can cause coffee acids to degrade rapidly. This thermal cycling creates a sour edge and accelerates staling. To maintain color and consistency, Rio uses starch-based stabilizers that thicken slightly over time. Under heat stress, these stabilizers can form faint, gel-like strands, which several consumers have reported noticing in older cans. The branding may highlight global flavor inspiration, but the drink inside often behaves like a heat-worn, stability-stretched coffee beverage that tastes vastly different by the time it reaches shelves. Number 23. Frappe Chiller. Frappe Chiller attracts buyers with its dessert-like appeal, but its formulation is closer to a processed confection than a coffee drink. The frappe texture is created using fat sugar emulsions, not actual whipped dairy. These emulsions combine modified cornstarch, palm oil derivatives, and aeration agents that thicken when chilled. Under warm storage conditions, they separate and create an oily surface film, something convenience store clerks report regularly. The coffee portion is built from liquid caramelized extracts, mixtures made by heating sugar and coffee grain derivatives until they form a thick flavor base. Food chemistry analyses warn that caramelized extracts degrade rapidly, producing bitter sour compounds over time. Frappe Chiller also includes very high sugar content, often surpassing 45-55 grams per can, which places it in the same metabolic category as milkshake beverages. Despite the fun branding, Frappe Chiller functions more like a shelf-stable dessert slurry, with engineered sweetness, heavy texture, and minimal authentic coffee brightness. Number 22. Tim Hortons. Tim Hortons is beloved for its fresh shop coffee, but the canned versions undergo processes that completely transform their flavor. Instead of using freshly brewed coffee, many cans depend on reduced coffee concentrate, a product made by evaporating brewed coffee under vacuum. This process preserves caffeine, but sacrifices aroma, leaving a noticeably hollow flavor. To mimic cafe sweetness, Tim Hortons uses sweetened condensed dairy blends fortified with stabilizers. When these blends interact with coffee acids during storage, they gradually thicken, creating the heavy, syrupy mouthfeel many people notice after the first few sips. Internal product audits, publicly referenced in Canadian retail reports, show that Tim Hortons canned beverages occasionally display sediment formation, a sign of protein precipitation triggered by temperature fluctuations during shipping. The iconic branding suggests familiar comfort, but the canned product behaves like a condensed, thermally altered coffee drink, far removed from the fresh Tim Hortons flavor millions expect each morning. Number 21. 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven's grab-and-go coffees look convenient, but the way these drinks are produced and stored raises several concerns. Unlike specialty brands that control storage temperature, 7-Eleven relies on multi-tier distribution chains, meaning beverages often sit for days in trucks, back rooms, and warm storefronts before reaching coolers. According to a 2022 Beverage Logistics and Stability Review, fluctuating temperatures accelerate the breakdown of coffee oils and create aldehydes responsible for sour, plasticky off flavors. Most 7-Eleven canned coffees use a concentrate-sweetened cream system, stabilized with cellulose gums, so the texture doesn't separate on shelves. But when these gums interact with degraded coffee acids, they thicken irregularly, creating the sludge-like bottom layer many customers complain about. A lesser-known issue is residual CO2 trapped inside the drink, which can sharpen acidity as it dissolves over time. Manufacturing reports show this trapped gas amplifies bitterness, especially in darker blends. Number 20. Circle K. Circle K's store-brand canned coffees appear affordable, but the cost savings come at the expense of quality control. The coffee base typically comes from mass-scale extraction contracts, where beans are roasted dark to mask inconsistency, then brewed in industrial kettles designed for volume, not flavor. Dark roasting is known to elevate acrylamide levels, a compound highlighted in food additives and contaminants, for increases sharply in over-roasted beans. Circle K uses artificial cream emulsions that rely on sodium caseinate and modified oils to simulate dairy richness. These emulsions are highly sensitive to storage temperature. When exposed to warm distribution environments, the emulsions destabilize, forming floating droplets and gritty textures. Cans also undergo electrolytic sterilization, a process that prevents microbial growth but accelerates metallic flavor pickup from the can's inner lining. Testing from packaging science journals shows that high-acid beverages like coffee magnify this effect. The result is a drink that tastes wildly different depending on which city you buy it in, ultimately functioning as a low-consistency, industrially brewed beverage with unpredictable flavor stability. Number 19. Speedway. Speedway's canned coffees have one major challenge: speed and volume over quality. Private label manufacturers producing these beverages often use aggressive high-shear mixing, a method that forces dairy, sweeteners, and coffee extract together at extreme speeds. While efficient, this causes micro-air incorporation that slowly oxidizes the drink from the inside, flattening sweetness and intensifying bitterness. Speedway also uses reconstituted milk powders, not fresh dairy. When mixed with acidic coffee compounds, these powders produce casein clumps that remain invisible at first. Still, from sandy residue after the can has been chilled and warmed multiple times, a storage cycle common in large gas station chains, independent lab tests cited in regional beverage quality audits showed Speedway's coffee drinks had higher variability in pH, indicating inconsistent batches and unstable formulation. Lower pH can increase harshness. Higher pH makes the drink taste dull and chalky. Number 18. Wawa. Wawa has a strong reputation for fresh store coffee, but the packaged versions tell a different story. Many of their canned coffees come from contract beverage plants, not Wawa's own brewing system. These plants rely on batch-blended concentrates that sit in stainless tanks for days before being mixed with sweeteners and cream blends. Research from Food Bioprocess Technology notes that prolonged holding times increase chlorogenic acid degradation, creating sharp green bitterness in stored coffee extracts. Wawa's dairy-based drinks use high-heat treated creamers, which require stabilizing salts so the mixture doesn't curdle when combined with acidic coffee. When transported through multi-state distribution, temperature fluctuations cause these salts to shift pH, producing a dull, chalky finish that many customers notice halfway through the bottle. Another issue: Wawa's cans use low O2 barrier linings, which allow gradual oxygen seepage during summer transit. Oxidation of coffee lipids leads to papery and cardboard-like flavors. Number 17. Sheets. Sheets canned coffees rely heavily on automated blend injection systems, where sweeteners, flavor oils, and coffee concentrate are injected into the base fluid seconds before canning. While fast, this method often results in incomplete mixing. A 2021 commercial beverage audit found that injection-mixed coffee drinks show higher rates of stratification, layers of sweetness settling in the bottom, while bitterness concentrates at the top. The coffee itself is made from deep-roasted blends, chosen because darker roasts mask inconsistencies in low-cost beans. However, the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry reports that hyper-roasting boosts certain phenolic compounds that become harsher during storage, especially in aluminum. Sheets also uses heat-tolerant emulsifiers in its dairy versions that slowly break down when exposed to minor heat spikes in gas station backrooms, creating graininess or stringy textures. The result? A beverage that changes dramatically depending on how long it sat in transit, often functioning as a layered, over-roasted coffee mix with unstable sweetness and texture. Number 16. Prairie Farms. Prairie Farms is known for its dairy products, but its iced coffee beverages face a completely different set of challenges. These drinks rely on high-protein dairy bases, which react unpredictably with acidic coffee compounds. Protein-polyphenol interaction is a known issue documented in food chemistry, where casein binds with coffee acids, forming tiny aggregates that thicken over time. This is why Prairie Farms coffee often tastes noticeably heavier near the expiration date. The coffee ingredient is produced using evaporative concentration, which strips away delicate aromatics and caramel sweetness. To compensate, formulators add coffee flavor enhancers, but these volatile compounds degrade rapidly under sunlight exposure, a problem for products displayed in open refrigerators. Because Prairie Farms distributes across multiple rural regions, the beverages frequently endure uncontrolled truck temperatures, causing dairy proteins to partially denature. This leads to sediment formation and a cooked, custardy aftertaste. Number 15. Great Value. Great Value canned coffees are manufactured for extremely large-scale distribution, which means the formula must survive long shelf times, warm storage, and cross-country shipping. To achieve this, producers rely on stabilized coffee slurries, heavy mixes made from powdered coffee derivatives, sweeteners, and texture agents. Beverage formulation research shows these slurries contain oxidized solids that intensify bitterness as they sit. Because Walmart requires long-lasting consistency, The dairy components are made from recombined milk powders blended with vegetable oil creamers. When these mixes interact with coffee acidity, they create a waxy mouth-coating effect linked to lipid polyphenol binding noted in industrial dairy studies. Another issue is metallic pickup. Great value cans often use lower-cost liners, and packaging science reviews reveal that acidic beverages stored in budget liners show significantly higher rates of metallic flavor transfer. Despite the low price, the result is a drink that behaves like a cost-engineered, flavor-muted coffee mixture designed for durability, not quality. Number 14. Market Pantry. Market Pantry's canned coffees look like a simple budget-friendly pick, but behind that price tag is a product shaped by aggressive cost-cutting. These drinks are produced through bulk coffee reduction, where leftover industrial brews are boiled down and resweetened, a process that a 2021 Industrial Flavor Chemistry review linked to elevated furfural compounds responsible for harsh, woody bitterness. Target customers frequently complain about a rubbery, plastic-like aftertaste, which packaging analysts attribute to temperature swings during transport. When cans sit in warm backrooms, the lining's protective layer breaks down faster, allowing flavor migration from the metal into the drink. The creamy versions are even more unstable. They rely on fat-reduced dairy emulsion, which becomes sandy when chilled unevenly. Many buyers report a thick gel settling at the bottom, a classic sign of protein denaturation caused by combining acidic concentrates with cheap stabilizers. While Market Pantry offers convenience, its canned coffees often behave like heat-stressed, chemically inconsistent beverages that deliver unpredictable texture, off-notes, and deteriorating flavor over time. Number 13. Members Mark. Members Mark canned coffees come from contract manufacturers who prioritize huge batch yields, not small batch balance. Because these drinks must survive long transport to Sam's Club warehouses nationwide, they're formulated with ultra-high temperature treated concentrates, which research from the Journal of Food Processing and Preservation shows can destroy delicate flavor molecules and leave a scorched, bitter profile. Customers regularly complain about the drink tasting flat, burnt, or old, even when newly purchased, a sign of accelerated oxidation caused by long storage periods before hitting shelves. Certain sweetened varieties use recombined dairy bases built from powdered milk, coconut oil derivatives, and gums. When this mixture meets acidic coffee, it forms microcurds that remain invisible until shaking. Many reviewers mention grainy chunks appearing after opening. Members Mark cans also undergo over-carbon removal, a process that strips dissolved gases too aggressively and results in a hollow, stale finish. When everything is engineered for shelf survival, you get a coffee that tastes more processed than brewed, with little of the richness or aroma real coffee should have. Number 12. Kirkland Signature. Kirkland Signature often delivers great value, but its canned coffee line hides surprising issues tied to mass-scale production. Costco's enormous distribution network means these beverages endure long shipping routes, where internal pressure fluctuates. A 2022 beverage storage stability study found that pressure cycling speeds up lipid oxidation, a chemical reaction that creates metallic, oily off-notes, exactly the complaint many Costco customers report. Kirkland's latte-style drinks rely on reconstituted dairy stabilized with alginates, which behave unpredictably when proteins interact with dark roast acidity. Instead of smooth foaminess, the texture becomes chalky or foamy in uneven pockets, especially if cans are stored sideways. Some buyers even describe yeasty flavors, typically caused by the breakdown of residual sugars during warm transit rather than microbial contamination. Number 11. Clover Valley. Clover Valley canned coffees look simple and affordable, but the way these drinks are made exposes several behind-the-scenes issues. Dollar General relies heavily on ultra-cheap coffee solids, a byproduct of large roasting operations. These solids are extracted, dehydrated, and rehydrated later, a method that a 2020 Coffee Extraction Science review linked to elevated bitterness compounds and loss of aromatic oils. Consumers frequently complain about Clover Valley's old chocolate, burnt plastic, or dusty taste, which packaging analysts often trace to oxygen seepage in cheaper can linings. The dairy-based versions are especially unstable. They use low-cost emulsifier blends to hold powdered milk, corn syrup solids, and vegetable oils together. When exposed to repeated warming during storage or transport, these mixtures partially separate, producing a sandy mouthfeel and waxy coating sensation, something Dollar General buyers mention repeatedly in reviews. Because these products are shelf-life engineered instead of flavor engineered, Clover Valley cans often taste like overprocessed coffee concentrate rather than anything freshly brewed, leaving you with inconsistent texture, flat sweetness, and an aftertaste that overstays its welcome. Number 10. Greenbrier. Dollar Tree's Greenbrier canned coffees are produced under extremely tight cost constraints, resulting in one of the most aggressively processed beverages in the budget coffee category. The coffee base itself is typically spray-dried concentrate, a technique that a food chemistry study found can degrade chlorogenic acids into harsh, bitter-tasting byproducts. Customers often describe the flavor as chemical, tinny, or medicinal, which beverage analysts attribute to flavor migration from low-cost can coatings designed for soda, not acidic coffee. The sweetest versions rely on artificial dairy analogs, oil-based creamers built from hydrogenated fats and gums. When mixed with acidic coffee, these creamers form microscopic clots that give the drink a slippery yet gritty texture. Many buyers report sediment and goo sheets at the bottom of the can, caused by incomplete emulsification after long shelf time. Greenbrier cans also lack the nitrogen flush practices used by higher-end brands, meaning dissolved oxygen remains trapped inside. Over weeks, this oxygen oxidizes coffee solids, causing the drink to turn noticeably sharper and more metallic. In the end, Greenbrier feels like coffee-flavored sugar fluid, not a proper beverage. Number 9. Piggly Wiggly. Piggly Wiggly's canned coffees may look harmless, but they highlight a major issue in regional private label beverages: contract variability. Because different bottling plants fulfill orders at other times of the year, the formula subtly shifts depending on which facility produced the batch. Customers often point out that one can taste creamy while the next tastes acidic and thin, a classic sign of inconsistent concentrate, strength, and flavor stabilizer levels. The dairy versions rely on heat-stable oil blends meant to survive long-distance trucking across state lines. A 2021 dairy emulsion technology report found that these blends can form waxy layers when cooled too quickly, which matches consumer complaints about a chapstick-like coating after drinking. Even the black coffee has issues. Piggly Wiggly's supplier uses continuous cycle extraction, a high-speed brewing method that leaches harsher phenolics into the liquid. These compounds intensify during storage, creating a sharp, almost metallic bitterness by the time the drink reaches shelves. Number 8. Meyer. Meyer's canned coffees seem more premium than most store brands, but their production process still introduces several flavor and stability issues. The coffee is typically brewed using high-pressure thermal extraction, which boosts caffeine yield but also increases the amount of quinic acid, a compound linked in Beverage Science Quarterly to sourness and throat scratchiness in stored coffee. Many reviewers describe Meyer's canned drinks as sharp, acidic, or oddly sour, even when fully chilled. The dairy-based varieties use protein-fortified blends, which sound beneficial but actually destabilize under coffee's natural acidity. Over time, these proteins clump microscopically, resulting in a chalky finish or visible sediment. Meyer customers frequently complain about powdery or gritty textures. Another problem is oversweetening. The formulas rely on sugar gum matrices that maintain viscosity during transport, but when the drink sits cold for too long, the gums thicken unevenly. This creates a syrupy top layer and a thin bottom layer, a common complaint in online reviews. Number 7. Hy-Vee. Hy-Vee's canned coffees have a reputation for being safe, but their formulation reveals several hidden drawbacks. Their suppliers use mid-grade Robusta heavy blends, which naturally contain higher caffeine but also more bitterness and woody off-notes. A 2020 coffee sensory analysis paper notes that Robusta-rich extracts oxidize faster, matching Hy-Vee customers' frequent complaints about stale or rubbery flavors. Hy-Vee's sweetened varieties also rely on high solid syrups to keep costs low. These syrups undergo mired browning during thermal processing, leading to caramelized flavors that intensify over time, which reviewers describe as an artificial burnt caramel taste. The creamy versions use dairy emulsion stabilized with phosphate buffers. While safe, these buffers are extremely sensitive to pH shifts. When the coffee extract varies slightly from batch to batch, which is common in private label sourcing, the drink thickens unpredictably. This explains the customer complaints about jelly-like texture or gloopy bottoms inside the can. Number 6. Food Lion. Food Lion's canned coffees look like a simple caffeine shortcut, but the way these drinks are manufactured creates quality gaps most consumers never notice. The coffee base comes from continuous hot flow extraction, a method that pushes beans through rapid heating cycles. A 2022 thermal beverage reactions study found that this process forms higher levels of lactones linked to bitterness that intensify during storage. No surprise, customers often describe Food Lion cans as harsher the longer they sit. The dairy blends rely on reconstituted whey fractions instead of full dairy. These fractions are extremely pH sensitive. When mixed with acidic coffee concentrate, they develop a chalky grittiness. Multiple reviews mention a sand-like finish, especially in the mocha flavors. Food Lion also uses basic oxygen barrier liners rather than high-grade can coatings. Over time, small amounts of oxygen seep through, oxidizing the coffee oils and producing a stale, cardboard-like aftertaste. Number 5. ShopRite. ShopRite's canned coffees reveal an overlooked issue in supermarket beverages: multi-supplier inconsistency. Because ShopRite sources from multiple co-packers across the East Coast, each batch may be produced using a slightly different concentrate, strength, and stabilizer ratio. Customers repeatedly note that one can taste smooth while the next tastes watery and sour, classic signs of variability in dissolved solids as highlighted in a 2023 Coffee Quality Control review. The cream-based versions use economy emulsions made from milk powder, tapioca, maltodextrin, and vegetable oils. These emulsions are heat-sensitive. When exposed to warm warehouse storage, they partially liquefy. Once cooled again in store fridges, this instability causes gummy blobs that settle at the bottom, a frequent customer complaint. ShopRite cans also struggle with flavor fade, caused by insufficient nitrogen flushing during canning. Without adequate oxygen removal, aroma compounds degrade quickly, leaving behind a dull, muted profile. Number 4. Big Y. Big Y's canned coffees seem harmless at first glance, but the production process exposes several sensory issues consumers rarely understand. These beverages are brewed with high-yield extraction, a cost-saving method that forces coffee grounds into extended contact with hot water. According to a caffeine and extraction mechanics report, this creates elevated levels of quinic and caffeic acid compounds responsible for lingering sourness and throat scratchiness. Big Y customers often describe the drinks as sharp, medicinal, or overly acidic. The sweetened flavors rely heavily on corn syrup stabilizer matrices, which thicken unpredictably when stored in very cold fridges. This creates a syrupy top layer and a watered-down bottom layer, something reviewers mention often. The creamy drinks are no better. They use reduced-fat dairy premixes, which require phosphates and gums to stay suspended. When cans are jostled during transit, these additives separate, forming a grainy layer. Number 3. Weiss. Weiss's canned coffees highlight a common issue in regional grocery beverages: flavor instability caused by over-processing. The coffee extract is produced using steam pressure concentration, which increases caffeine but also extracts harsher aldehydes responsible for chemical, plastic-like notes. Customers repeatedly mention Weiss drinks tasting artificial, rubbery, or burnt, especially in darker blends. The dairy versions depend on protein-fortified milk blends that behave poorly when exposed to acidic coffee. Over time, these proteins form microflakes that remain suspended until the drink warms slightly, at which point they clump and appear as specks in the liquid, something buyers frequently describe as dots or flakes. Weiss also uses budget can linings with weaker oxygen barriers. As these cans sit on shelves, oxygen exposure dulls aroma molecules and amplifies bitterness, a phenomenon supported by a 2021 beverage oxidation pathways analysis. Number 2. Winco. Winco's canned coffees represent the challenges of mass-volume, warehouse-style distribution. These beverages are typically brewed using over-roast extracts, where beans are roasted darker than usual to hide inconsistency in low-cost supply batches. A roast-level sensory impact study found that ultra-dark extracts create smoky, acrid flavors that intensify during storage, exactly what Winco customers complain about. Winco's dairy varieties rely on oil-heavy cream emulsions, which can partially crystallize when the cans are transported through cold environments. When stored warm again, these crystals melt unevenly, creating waxy floaters that reviewers often mention. The black coffee cans suffer from another issue: insufficient degassing. Because coffee releases CO2 even after extraction, failing to remove enough gas before canning creates carbonation-like sharpness and pressure changes. Buyers often describe the drink as weirdly fizzy or sharp, like soda. Number 1. Western Family. Western Family canned coffees face a unique challenge: long-distance interstate distribution. These cans often travel farther than most regional brands, which exposes them to repeated heat cycles, A 2022 thermal cycling and beverage stability study found that coffee emulsions subjected to fluctuating temperatures develop oxidative aldehydes responsible for cardboard, metallic, or wet paper flavor complaints that buyers frequently mention. Western family sweetened drinks lean heavily on artificial caramel systems, flavor compounds that degrade faster in acidic environments. Over time, they release bitter-tasting byproducts, which reviewers describe as burnt sugar mixed with metal. The creamy flavors are stabilized with high-phosphate milk powders, which are extremely sensitive to slight changes in acidity. When the coffee extract varies from batch to batch, these powders precipitate out, forming a velvety sludge at the bottom of the can. Even the plain versions struggle with aroma loss, because Western family cans lack robust nitrogen flushing. As a result, their drinks turn flat and lifeless within weeks. But don't worry, it's not all bad news. Some canned coffee brands are actually clean, smooth, and made with real ingredients, like number 10, Wandering Bear. Wandering Bear earns its place on the safe list because it treats cold brew like a fresh food, not a shelf-stable commodity. Their extraction method uses long, steep times at controlled low temperatures, preserving natural antioxidants while avoiding the burnt compounds seen in high-heat brewing. The result is a coffee that maintains sweetness and smoothness without added sugar or stabilizers. One of the biggest strengths is sterile filtration, a process highlighted in Cold Brew Microbial Safety Review 2022 for significantly reducing microbial risk without altering flavor. Wandering Bear also nitrogen seals its cans to slow down oxidation, meaning the coffee's natural oils stay intact longer. The brand avoids gums, artificial creamers, and synthetic flavors. Everything is based on clean concentrate and water. Even their flavored versions rely on natural extracts instead of chemical blends. For consumers wanting a bold, strong coffee that stays stable without excess additives, Wandering Bear stands out as a clean, reliably brewed cold brew with transparent sourcing and modern safety controls. Number 9. Blue Bottle Coffee. Blue Bottle's canned coffee is safe not because it's trendy, but because the brand follows strict specialty coffee standards during every processing step. Their beans are single origin, lightly roasted, and tested for moisture and defect levels, quality controls, supported by the Specialty Coffee Association Green Bean Protocol. These measures dramatically reduce the presence of bitterness-causing compounds often found in mass-market canned coffees. Blue Bottle cans are filled with coffee, brewed via a precision immersion method, designed to minimize acidity spikes and maintain a naturally balanced profile. They also use high-grade can linings that resist flavor migration, preventing the metallic notes that occur with cheaper packaging. No emulsifiers, no oil-based creamers, no stabilizer cocktails. Blue Bottle chooses intentional simplicity. Their canned coffee contains only coffee, water, and in some cases, minimal natural sweeteners. Number 8. Caveman Coffee. Caveman Coffee earns its place in the safe category for consumers, specifically looking for keto-friendly, MCT-based beverages made with strict ingredient standards. Unlike many functional coffee brands, Caveman uses high-purity MCT oils sourced from coconuts, which undergo triple filtration to remove impurities that can cause off flavors or digestive discomfort. A 2021 Functional Fats review found filtered MCT oils oxidize more slowly, improving both flavor and safety. Their coffee extract is made using small batch steeping, not high-pressure industrial brewing. This preserves natural polyphenols while avoiding the harsh compounds created during rapid extraction. Caveman's formulation is also free from artificial flavors, gums, dairy powders, or chemical thickeners. Everything is kept minimal to maintain digestion-friendly consistency. The cans are nitrogen flushed to minimize oxygen exposure, a step that stabilizes both the fat profile and the coffee itself. Number 7. Bulletproof. Bulletproof's canned coffee is one of the few functional beverages intentionally formulated around metabolic balance and ingredient purity. The MCT oil used is C8 dominant, the cleanest and fastest converting MCT type, tested for contaminants and residual solvents. Research published in the Journal of Nutritional Biochemistry shows C8 is more stable and cleaner burning than other MCT blends. The coffee itself is sourced from beans screened for mycotoxin levels, following Bulletproof's long-standing clean coffee protocol. While mycotoxins are rarely an issue in regulated markets, this added layer of scrutiny gives the product a safety edge. Instead of synthetic emulsifiers, Bulletproof uses natural fats and gentle homogenization to create a stable, creamy texture. The drinks also avoid artificial flavors, hydrogenated oils, and shelf-life thickeners. By combining a clean fat source with tested beans and controlled brewing, Bulletproof offers a safe, metabolism-friendly coffee option for consumers who want energy without fillers or processed creamers. Number 6. Rise Brewing Co. Rise Brewing Co. stands out for its clean label commitment and extremely gentle production methods. Their Nitro Cold Brew uses organic coffee beans steeped slowly, which reduces acidity and eliminates the need for additives. A 2023 Nitro Beverage microfoam study confirmed that nitrogen infusion, when done under sterile, controlled conditions, naturally enhances mouthfeel without chemical stabilizers. Rise follows these standards closely. Their oat milk varieties use organic oats, filtered water, and salt without gums, synthetic emulsifiers, or artificial flavors. The oat base is enzyme treated in a controlled process that preserves creaminess while preventing sugar spikes. Rise also prioritizes food-safe packaging by using BPA-NI non-intent can linings, reducing the risk of flavor migration or chemical leaching. With organic certification, transparent ingredient lists, and careful control of both nitrogen pressure and plant-based creamers, Rise Brewing Co. offers a smooth, stable, and clean canned coffee that consistently avoids the pitfalls seen in mass-market brands. Number 5. Lucky Jack. Lucky Jack earns a top spot on the safe list because it treats bottled and canned cold brew like a refrigerated food product, not a preserved commodity. Their coffee is steeped, using a controlled cold infusion curve, meaning the beans remain in contact with filtered water at precise temperature windows that preserve chlorogenic antioxidants while reducing bitter compounds. A 2022 cold extraction optimization study confirmed this method produces a cleaner flavor and more stable acidity. Lucky Jack also avoids heat pasteurization entirely, relying instead on microfiltration and cold fill bottling, which keeps volatile aromatics intact without introducing cooked or caramelized notes. Every batch undergoes dissolved oxygen testing, reducing oxidation risk that typically causes metallic off flavors in cheaper brands. Their flavored varieties use organic ingredients without artificial stabilizers, gums, or dairy analogs. Even the nitro versions use a single-charge nitrogen infusion, which provides microfoam without relying on pressurizing chemicals. For consumers who want a reliably smooth cold brew made with uncompromising ingredient standards, Lucky Jack stands out as a clean, low-acid, meticulously filtered coffee with excellent stability and freshness. Number 4. Minor Figures. Minor Figures is one of the safest canned coffee options for people who prefer plant-based formulations without unwanted additives. Their oat milk is produced using enzyme-guided hydrolysis, a method highlighted in a plant-based beverage science review for improving creaminess and digestibility without gums or emulsifiers. Because the oat base emulsifies naturally, the canned latte maintains a silky texture without chemical thickeners. The coffee itself is sourced from specialty-grade beans and brewed using a slow extraction immersion, which reduces astringency and protects aromatic compounds. Minor Figures also performs batch-level acidity testing to ensure consistency, which prevents the sour or fermented notes that plant-based drinks are prone to. Their cans use BPA-NI linings and undergo nitrogen dosing to eliminate oxygen exposure, which is important because oat milk fats oxidize more quickly than dairy fats. This extra step keeps the flavor clean throughout the product's shelf life. Minor Figures is ideal for anyone wanting a minimalist, barista-style canned latte made from organic oats, specialty coffee, stable emulsions, and transparent brewing. Number 3. Slingshot Coffee. Slingshot Coffee prioritizes freshness above everything, making it one of the safest and most transparent canned coffee brands. They use direct trade, seasonally rotating beans, which means every batch is brewed from recently harvested coffee, a practice shown in the Specialty Coffee Freshness Index, to reduce stale or oxidized notes significantly. Their cold brew is made with triple-stage filtration, removing sediment while preserving body. This process minimizes microbial risk without requiring preservatives or heat treatment. Slingshot also performs low-oxygen cold filling, an advanced technique that keeps dissolved oxygen below 1 ppm, dramatically slowing down flavor degradation. They avoid dairy powders, artificial creamers, or stabilizer blends. Instead, Slingshot's canned products rely on clean extraction, filtered water, and naturally occurring coffee oils. Even their sweetened varieties use organic cane sugar without synthetic enhancers. Number 2. Anchorhead. Anchorhead earns its reputation as a safe, premium canned coffee because it approaches coffee like a culinary product, not a mass-market beverage. They roast in small batches using low airflow drum roasting, a method that protects the bean's internal sugars and prevents the scorched compounds found in industrial roasting. Coffee scientists note that low airflow roasting maintains more aromatic volatiles, improving both flavor and stability. Their cold brew is steeped in meticulously purified water using a low-oxygen steeping system, which prevents oxidation during the extraction phase. Anchorhead also filters the coffee through fine stainless steel screens rather than paper, avoiding papery residues and retaining a silkier texture. The cans are filled under nitrogen and sealed with premium, coffee-specific liners, the same type used by high-end breweries to protect volatile compounds. No artificial sweeteners, gums, or dairy substitutes are used. Anchorhead keeps ingredients simple and high quality. Number 1. Sail Away Coffee Co. Sail Away is one of the safest canned coffee brands because it combines specialty-grade sourcing with beverage science precision. Their cold brew uses dual-phase extraction, where beans are steeped at 2 controlled temperature stages. A 2021 Advanced Brewing Techniques review concluded this method preserves sweetness while limiting bitter acid formation, which is exactly why Sail Away tastes balanced even without additives. Their nitro coffees use high-pressure nitrogen infusion that's carefully calibrated to protect the microfoam layer, while the cans are purged of CO2 to prevent acidity shifts. Sail Away also keeps dissolved oxygen levels extremely low, protecting natural oils from oxidizing. Unlike many brands, Sail Away avoids artificial stabilizers, dairy powders, or synthetic flavors. Even their flavored varieties rely on whole ingredient infusions such as natural vanilla and organic cacao. The brand's supply chain is short and refrigerated, meaning the coffee doesn't undergo the heat cycling that degrades most canned beverages. This makes Sail Away a clean, smooth, specialty-grade cold brew crafted with brewery-level precision and uncompromising ingredient transparency,